Chris Gill and David Solomon every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. You think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, buddy.
It's the end of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Heaven. You know, David, I think this is a great one. But, you know, when you utter the words or the letters BLM, Black Lives Matter, and you're white or white colored, you know, you're risking getting called a racist just for uttering something negative about Black Lives Matter. And, you know, if your name is Grant or Cannon and you're lying on mortgage applications and spending money that's supposed to be designated to go to help young, vulnerable men on nail salons, hair salon, restaurants, trips, and vacations, you're one corrupt bunch of sons of bitches. And
Wow.
you know what? At the end of the day, everyone's afraid to call them out because they utilize a tactic called threatening. They threaten to out you as a racist. And, you know, people like this serve no proper place in society. In fact, they're the pariah. They're the ones who are taking and keeping and splurging on themselves on the hospices that I'm earning the money and taking the money to help other people. Themselves first. David, what do you got to say about Cannon and Grant and company?
Oh, well, okay. So let's for those of you guys who aren't familiar, these are Black Lives Matter. They're the heads of the Black Lives Matter movement. And the thing that irritated me is that we've been hearing for a while fraud, indiscriminate use of funds, and a few of the leaders have been called out to explain what they're doing with the money that they're collecting from various donors, individuals, all the way to corporations. And the interesting thing is they say, well, we're trying to do good for the community, for the Black community as a whole. But I did not realize that that included buying a $6 million mansion. And in my mind, I'm saying, well, hold on a second. The Black Lives Matter is now become the X-Men. So for those of you who don't know a little bit of like the Marvel universe, you know, Professor X buys a beautiful mansion to train his trainees. But are we talking here about fantasy or reality? Does Black Lives Matter need to spend $6 million of donor money?
Plus an additional $3.2 million for about another half a dozen houses they bought all over the place.
That's correct.
So you're talking about $10 million of houses that these people bought to help what? Single African American men, women, children.
Well,
damn, I don't know. How are they helping them by wasting money and buying real estate?
This is my problem. And this should be everybody's problem. Look, we've seen this before. This is not a new thing. Stuart, we know money corrupts, power corrupts. When you get that taste, you just, you know, and we've seen that. And I'm saying that here's the thing, before everybody jumps down our throat, the essence of Black Lives Matter, not the organization, the essence of it, I get it. We all get it. We support it. When we say all lives matter, there are people who get offended, but we do believe that the African-American community in the US, in Canada, face a daunting amount of racism. There is no doubt about it, and it needs to be corrected, whether you call it police corruption or whatever. I get that. And like I said, the essence of this matters. My problem is that this organization has decided that, to quote Stewart, it's either you're with me or you're against me. Either you're with whatever I do. You cannot question whatever I do, because if you do, you are a racist. And this is where I have a problem. That suddenly, if you are going, the Department of Justice is investigating again the Black Lives Matter movement, fraudulently using funds. Hello, where is this going? Disband or clean up? Plain and simple. Enough. Because you have convinced Americans and Canadians, by the way, that this movement is pure in its nature. And it's not. It's not. And you are corrupt, and you should not be permitted to continue it this way. And by the way, one of the biggest supporters, financial supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement is, Stuart, who is it? The Democratic Party. So if the Democrats have no problem sending money over to Black Lives Matter so that they can buy a $6 million mansion, so that they can eat and drink and be festive and $3 million on somewhere else, and I cry foul, Stuart.
You know, you don't have to cry foul. I've been putting up all these posts that I'm grabbing right now from the United Kingdom newspaper, because you know what? They're just thieves. You know, they're not helping anyone. They're not doing anything to help anyone. In fact, dollar for dollar, you're better off giving it to the Salvation Army. Or how about the guys in front of the Macy's that ring the bells? You know, it seems that that money would get to help more people than the money that they're putting out there. And you know what? People like the NBA, NFL, and MLBA got hoodwinked by a bunch of thieves. Literally. And you know what? Guys like Kaepernick, he's a bigger thief. You know, these guys all stand and took a knee, including the President of the United States, for a cause that's a shanty and a scam. And I think the biggest embarrassment of the Democratic Party is they all kneeled at the House. What kind of bunch of idiots are they? The greatest country on this earth has problems. No one is surprised. The greatest country, the freest country in the world, is far from perfect. But I will tell you with utter certainty that all the members of the Black Lives Matter, they're all been hoodwinked by a handful of thieves, a band of thieves, not Robin Hoods, thieves, right? So as far as I'm concerned, if you stroked the check to BLM, good. I'm happy you lost your money because your money went to absolutely no one. And when the IRS eventually busts them up, I'm going to laugh my way to the bank because that tax receipt becomes null and void.
You know, for me, it's just simple. And I mean, I've seen this too many times in different organizations. You want to do well, you want to do right by people close to you, proud of you. Let's do it. I got to tell you, I'm involved in a couple of other nonprofits, organizations where, yeah, there's a reason it's called nonprofit, you know, but it's not taking money and singing into my pocket or the organizer's pocket. It goes back to the community. It goes back to the causes. What you said was absolutely right. NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, all this painting of sidelines, all the signage that you see, the jerseys, the helmet stickers, you name it. I agree on the philosophy of the cause. I am hard against anybody who's going to take your money.
Hey, David, you know what? I'm going to cut you off. I had a pair of running shoes ordered from Adidas, and then I got notified that they're donating money to BLM in honor of the sales of those shoes. You know what I did with those shoes? I returned them.
You know what? I think that's the way it should be. And this is, you know, you talk about or like associations that got hoodwinked. You know, for Nike and Adidas and for the rest of those guys, it's worse than getting hoodwinked. It's a marketing opportunity because the reality is like they don't think they really care. Okay.
Yeah, I totally, you know what? I totally agree.
But let me finish with that. The point is that when the Adidas and the Nikes put their names behind it, people believe that there's a validation, that they're real. But if I were Nike and Adidas, I would pull out right now. The Kaepernicks that you said and all that kind of stuff, that you pull out because you know what? Go for the cause. Go for the purpose, not the organization. Change the letters. The BLM, actually, the funny thing was yesterday, one of the guys, and I give him credit for the joke, he goes, I didn't realize that BLM stands for buying larger mansions. I didn't realize that that's what the initials meant. And frankly, this is the problem. They have just pulled, and by the way, one of the things that was really irritating, lawyers tried to shut down the story. Lawyers were brought in to shut the story down, not to deny it, not to prove that they're clean, but to shut the story down. That, ladies and gentlemen, is telling.
Listen, you even got fake Black Lives Matters like the Johnson Group that has Black Lives Matters in its name. I mean, this goes on and on and on, like a SoCal Malcolm X party group, running around campuses in California in the liberal West. I mean, it is just by and large one scam after another. And you know what? If I'm not black, so I can't tell you what it feels like, but I have a company that have a lot of African American and island people employed, and we actually talk about this around the water cooler every once in a while. They bring it up. And you know what? These are a bunch of really well educated guys that are working around this part. And I got to tell you, they're all like, I wouldn't give a dime to those guys. They don't represent me. They don't represent my family. They don't represent my people. They represent themselves. And you know what? I'm fairly encouraged when white America gets out of the way of black America will thrive. I said, until white America gets out of the way and stands and lets them do what they need to do, black lives will not matter, because they need to matter for themselves first and foremost. They have the highest crime rate in their neighborhood. They have the highest death rate in the neighborhood. They have the most black on black crime in their own world. It is ridiculous. Blacks want to manage themselves. Why are whites getting involved? Nike is the most white bread company in the planet, right behind Adidas. They make money off black athletes. That's what they do. But yet they are the cornerstone, and I want that advertising dog. David, you're 100% right.
And listen, at this point, I would like to the Black Lives movement, Black Lives Matter movement. I'm sorry, you're done for. And if you think that right now, that I would sit here today and encourage the financials, no. But I'm also saying it. I'm calling out every organization that supported them, from the Democratic Party on down. You need to publicly withdraw your support. You need to. I know this will not happen, because this is going to look bad. I know this is going to look bad on the Democrats, because if the Democrats admitted that they were wrong,
listen, I just saw a quick broadcast as I was flipping through the news before we got live here about how someone in the Democratic Party says Trump made millions off the White House and Biden's son is irrelevant when it comes to the White House on selling politics with him as an uncle. Listen, the Democrats have an agenda. That is, I got to tell you, whatever lie it takes to get you to agree with me and do it over and over again, just like they do in CCCP, which is Russia, where they went around for years saying Ukrainians are Nazis. But
again, the Democrats
are just complicit with any group. I agree.
But Stuart, it goes. I'm going to say it again. It's the Democrats. It's the media.
But everyone's going to say, David, you and I are two white Republicans bitching about the Democrats.
First of all,
I don't get it, right or wrong.
I can't be a Republican. I'm Canadian. But the thing is that Joy Reid and MSNBC has been lambasting any conservative with racist taunts recently. Racist taunts that hasn't been called out by a single
but even before
one.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz went on national television and said, you must step on the necks of those Republicans and break them. That was, 2006? Come on.
But my point I'm trying to get at is I'm not going back to 2006. I'm going to this week. When I'm saying that this week, unfortunately, and again, this is the problem, that the Democrats and their media cohorts continue to use any racist taunt that they can. But the moment you tell Joy Reid Black Lives Matter organization stinks, you are the racist. And then they throw at you critical race theory, and they continue to demean you and to degrade you. And this is the problem. Had people had the intestinal fortitude to stand up to Black Lives Matter when it started, not as an ideology, but as an organization that was corrupt, things would have been different. But of course, they don't have the intestinal fortitude, because the Democrats are supporting lies. They're supporting racism. That's the reality. Folks.
Well, listen, it's very easy. We're at the end of the quarter hour, David. We had a couple people listen in. I got a couple of PMs that I just threw up some facts that are very much confused. But at the end of the day, David, it's the end of the week. I say goodbye, David.
I say goodbye. And folks, let's do this again next week. We'll see you next week. Yeah. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're back here. We're back here again next week. We'll continue to rant about things that not popular. But damn.
David,
Can I just tell you
I'm
one
going to
thing?
knock you out. There
Let
you
me
go.
tell you one thing. For those people who sit here and criticize us and say you guys are full of crap, let me remind you that Stuart brought to this broadcast a couple of months ago that the Russians will stop sending fertilizer globally for 2 months. And do you know what this done to your food bill, folks? And only now is the media going, oh, by the way, did anybody pay attention to that? Nobody wanted to speak about it. We did. It makes a difference. Stuart?
Do you want to talk about that on Monday and bring that up?
Nah, we'll find something more radical to talk about.